So I know that the people in Nevis are certainly listening because they tune in every week to listen. Of course, Nevisians know that the relationship could not be better or has never been better between St. Kitts and Nevis, and you're a part of making that relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis work. Now, you hold the portfolios of Minister of Foreign Affairs and Aviation in the federal cabinet. Now, as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, you play an extremely important role in terms of our relationship with other countries, other governments, and so on. In fact, you represent us. You're our face around the world in terms of diplomacy. And your ministry has been tackling a number of issues when it comes to our relationships with other countries, our bilateral relationships, cooperation and collaboration around the world. And some of those I hope that you would outline to us today. One of them, of course, I want to start off with is that of our relationship with Canada, especially with respect to the revocation of our visa-free access to that country. Recently, Prime Minister Trudeau was here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I think he vacationed in Nevis. He was on a private family holiday. And there was a lot of comments and so on in the media in terms of whether he had discussions with you and with the Prime Minister concerning the revocation of the visa-free access that we once enjoyed and so on. And some MPs in Canada, the opposition side, wrote to the Minister of Foreign Affairs wanting to find out if the Prime Minister had made any sort of commitments with respect to the visa revocation and so on with St. Kitts and Nevis. Could you tell us a little bit about that in terms of where we are, what strategies, what are the pending discussions and so on, designed really to engage Canada to review the revocation of the visa waiver?
Well, when this Team Unity government assumed the reins of government in February of last year, this was certainly one of the major issues that we faced. Frankly, we did not know how bad it was until we got in. Relationships with Canada, with the United States, and with others was at an all-time low. Indeed, you mentioned Canada, and I will go back there in a moment, but the public would now realize that after we got in, we discovered that there was correspondence from no less a figure than John Kerry, addressed to the former Prime Minister, indicating in very undiplomatic terms, very strong terms, what repercussions St. Kitts and Nevis, little St. Kitts and Nevis could face if he did not adhere to certain requirements that they were setting. So we really met a very difficult situation. I can say, Leslie, that I'm very pleased that since this government has taken over, and since I've had the role of Minister of Foreign Affairs, we have not had occasion to have that kind of interaction, negative interaction with any foreign government. And I think that that alone, if nothing else, we have engaged in very intense, quiet diplomacy, many closed doors and telephone type meetings, but we have been working extremely hard. I have a very, very good staff led by Ms. Kay Bass, Permanent Secretary, and we've been working very hard in a very deliberate way to rectify, to recalibrate the relationships with some of these very important partners. Now you speak of Canada. It is true that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his family chose to holiday here. Maybe that's symbolic, I don't know. I would believe that it's because of our beauty and our history that he would have come. But we were aware of this visit for quite some weeks in advance, of course. Certain logistics had to be put in place. They did request that the visit be private, and that it was not an official visit, but rather a family, high profile, yes, but a family nevertheless, trying to have a private holiday. And I'm very pleased that we were able to respect that privacy. They came, they had 10 wonderful days on Nevis, and they left indicating their gratitude for having a wonderful time in a wonderful country where they were allowed to just relax. That is what they wanted. Now, of course, the public is less interested in the relaxation of the Prime Minister of Canada and more interested in what our conversations were. What I can say is that the Prime Minister and I were afforded an opportunity to greet the Prime Minister of Canada on his arrival and to say goodbye to him on his departure. I was also afforded an opportunity to interact with him informally on Nevis at a particular function. I can say that the visa waiver issue was raised, but it was one of a multitude of issues. And there was neither time nor, frankly, the occasion to get into any detailed discussions. The Prime Minister of Canada indicated that he was aware of these issues. Clearly, he had been briefed. And that, of course, both sides indicated that we would follow up in the ordinary channels, using the normal communication channels, that is for diplomatic channels. Now you asked what, and therefore I can answer the MPs in Canada to say that no commitments were given because no commitments were sought. This was merely us using the opportunity to say to Canada, listen, in the interest of deepening and widening our relationship and recalibrating this long-standing friendship, there are these issues of trade, of a partnership with CARICOM, of security, of course, our Citizenship by Investment program, of a visa waiver program. And we had those very informal discussions, and it is our hope that they will act as a springboard for further dialogue with Canada. What I can tell you is that in terms of our plan, we have had plans for some time to engage Canada formally. We have unfortunately been delayed in that engagement because of the elections in Canada. First, of course, the Harper administration declared an election. They went into election mode. And then there was some delay in terms of the new government being sworn in, the new foreign minister, whom incidentally I was able to meet on the sidelines in Malta. And so quite happy that we've already made a connection there with him. So the truth of the matter is that it did take some time. We ourselves have now opened, I think Kedishans and Divisions would be pleased to hear that we've now opened a High Commission in Ottawa, the first time ever. We used to have a shared space with the OECS that was abandoned some years ago, but we now have formal diplomatic. Her Excellency Shirley Skerritt is there, a seasoned veteran in the diplomatic corps, and we want to use that opening of that as again an indication to Canada that we are serious about this relationship and use it as a springboard for engaging them on this very important issue. I feel optimistic. I can't make promises, but I feel optimistic that we will overcome this particular hurdle.